So the SS were divided in two different segments. The ones who fought on the front line in the tanks, and the ones who wore the death head, the skull and bones. They were in charge of all the concentration camps, administration, guards, and everything else. When Hitler said, I'm fine, I want to design a Reich, the Third Reich, for 1,000 years. But he wasn't satisfied. Now suddenly it came to his mind, I want to back to Sudetenland. A lot of Germans live there, let's take it. He sure took it. Then he took the Rhineland. At the Rhineland, he took away from the French. The French took it before First World War, now he took it back. At that time, statistics shows the French army was the strongest in Europe. They had more men, more tanks, more equipment, and still lost the war to Hitler. Because why? Bad organization. Hitler came through with half his army, with half his tanks, and defeated France in 2 weeks. Can you imagine? Yes, it's true. Now, the SS were also created by a lot of the volunteers. Every time Hitler occupied a country, well, I don't want any more than Czechoslovakia, I'm fine. When Neville Chamberlain left his office, he was laughing, he was dancing. That stupid fool, look at with the white paper. He's laughing. Weeks later, then he went and took Denmark. Then he took Belgium. And then attacked France. And of course, he attacked Poland way before that, and that's where Second World War started. I can't tell you enough about the SS people because either they were trained maniacs or killers, and in the concentration camp we noticed they were always drunk because what they had committed to do, no human being ever in his right mind would be able to do it. But I talk about the camps in about a minute. I'm going to continue where I left off. So now, back to Hungary. My mother looked out the window and she sees all the German soldiers running all over. It was already planned. They came in on March 19, 1944. It was planned in January. Hitler's representative, Edmund Wesenmayer, who was supposed to be a man who belongs to the German embassy, he went to Hungary to organize the deportations with Adolf Eichmann and the head of the Hungarian Fascist Party, what was the Arrow Cross Party. The Arrow Cross Party was on a green armband, an arrow running up and down and sideways. That was the Arrow Cross Party of Hungary. And then they decided we're going to deport the Hungarian Jews. That was now early in 1944, about in January. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew what's coming. Now, the Germans occupied Hungary, as I said, March 19, 1944, and my mother didn't let me go to take my violin lesson because she says, there's something terribly wrong here. I cannot allow you to go anywhere else. Now, a week later, the Jews were not allowed to go to the movies, theaters, or sports activities. Another week passed by. A Hungarian official came to my father's store, and he says to him, you know, you have to get out of this store. This belongs now to the Hungarian government. And we saw him, before that, going up and down the street and going in every store. I noticed in his lapel was the Fascist Party emblem. And you know who he was? He was my history professor, Mr. Arpad Kovacs. And I ran over to him as a kid. I was just in my father's store by coincidence. He said, Mr. Kovacs, what are you doing here? He said to me, you know something? I know you. You were in my class, but you are now a dirty Jew, and if you don't shut up, I take you down to the police station. My father ran over, put his hand on my mouth. He, keep quiet, there's nothing you can do. So it took him about 10, 15 minutes until he took out a book. My father signed, and he walked out from the store. His life savings, everything went down the tubes. The store was signed over to the Hungarian government. Just to let you know, but now, 64 years later, We were never compensated for anything by the Hungarians. Maybe a few $1,000s. I didn't want it. I couldn't care less. The Germans, yes. The Hungarians, no. So now that we had to move out from the store, we lived at home. Now the new proclamation came. The Jews are not allowed to go on the street after 7 at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. If you want to do any activities during the daytime. Okay. So that's what we did, and we lived as much as we could, the best as we could. Now comes May. They announced it. We're going to form a ghetto. What is a ghetto? Never in my life heard about the ghetto. I was a kid of 60 years old. What do I know about the ghetto? Ghetto comes from the Italian language, a place where people are jammed in. And they designated an area in the old Jewish section, block and a half from east to west and north and south, a half a block, and they built a barricade in front of the ghetto buildings. And every day, people were assigned where they have to move into the ghetto. Our time came up at May the 12th. May the 12th, my father rented a horse-drawn carriage, and we were allowed to take one luggage per person. By the time already a Hungarian official was sitting in our apartment, watching everything what was going on, watching everything what we're taking. You were not allowed to take any jewelry, any money, any cameras, any radios, none of that. But we were able to hide in our pockets some of the money and some of the jewelry. Then we went down, took the luggage down. My mother was crying bitterly. She just couldn't stop crying. My father was like stone-faced because the Germans formed a Hungarian committee, and the committee was always negotiating with the German commandant in the city. One day, Eichmann came to the city. I don't know why he appeared in our city. His headquarters were in Vienna, and my father was on the committee, so Eichmann tells him one day, look, I need so much gold and so much money, get it up, otherwise I'm going to take 50 hostages, I'm going to shoot them. So my father went from place to place to place with the other committee members, and they dug up some money. A week later, Eichmann came again to my father, because my father spoke fluent German, and he says to him, you got a lot of these old people, these crippled people. Why didn't you just ask your doctor, the school doctor, Dr. Danners was his name, and give them some butter bread and lace them with poison? Everybody was taken back. The doctor tells Eichmann, look, I'm a doctor, I'm saving lives. I cannot kill people. Oh, never mind, they're going to die anyways. And then he left the city, and my father never saw Eichmann ever again. At that time, we didn't know who Eichmann was. We didn't know about anything. We heard stories, but as I said, we couldn't believe it. At May 12, we went to the ghetto, and the ghetto was for 3,500 people, one large city block, so one family, sometimes two families in one room. I slept on the street, on the synagogue steps, where all the luggage was piled up, and my father told me, you know, help the older people, do something, do something. I said, fine. And my friends, we were helped a lot of people. I had 5 very, very close friends. And we helped the older people, and we slept on the street at night. I just went back, to the house, and took some food and ate something, and back on the street again. So I became a street person.